You'd be surprised how much in common owners of a $1,000 Beater crap box would share with $1,000,000 high roller. The difference being the broke car guy didn't choose to live like that, but the rich car guy willingly pays more to live like that. Here are 5 things rich and broke car owners can relate to. Squeaking brakes. Having cheap brakes and having brakes that aren't maintained enough will result in squeaking, because cheap brakes, obviously the material that they're made of is usually cheap, and usually it's gonna just be more prone to squeak because it's gonna have more metal content in them. And brakes that aren't maintained well are just dirtier and have grime all over the place, which results in friction and that squeaking. However, rich people who spend tons of money, actually multiple tons I should say, like 14,000, even sometimes 20,000, enough to buy a whole nother car, they will spend on their brakes, which are carbon ceramics. Carbon ceramic brakes love squeaking. I would know, I used to have a set on my car because it came with the car. I ended up selling my set because they were really helpful and nice when I first bought the car because I was new to mountain running. I was just spirited at driving my car. I didn't know my car that well because I just got it. And it helped a lot with my braking zones, and it helped a lot with my confidence because you're flying down a mountain and it's really, really dangerous. Now, once I did start to learn my braking zones and kind of understand my car's power, I found that carbon ceramics were overkill. And of course, for track enthusiasts, you'll always need carbon ceramics. The whole point of their design is that they're supposed to feature cooling, but at the cost of surface area. But for daily drivers, every mechanic and engineer will tell you that surface area matters more than cooling. Obviously, for a high horsepower car, you still may need like a hybrid setup, like a slotted rotor, which is what I ended up going up with. But the point I'm making is carbon ceramics, I think for my car was like 12 grand for a whole replacement set. I am not about to spend 12 grand for when my brakes are gonna wear out. So my brakes were like more than half of their life left, so I sold them to some dude for like $6,500. I was like, look, I'd rather make money, like at least I can still sell them, like my rotors, for something, because once they're totally used, it'd be the opposite. No one would want them, and on top of that, I have to pay 12 grand for replacement. Screw that. Plus, I have other things I want to spend money on. The biggest thing that dissuaded me though was just all the stupid looks that you get from people, especially non-car people, at every single stoplight, because when it turns red, you come to stop, and you're just squeaking your absolute brains out, because that's just how carbon ceramics are. When I went through a drive-thru at Chick-fil-A, and the guy working there looks at me as I pull in, and I'm just squeaking my brains out, and he's like, really, dude? You're gonna buy a flashy, expensive sports car, but you're gonna not even know how to take care of your brakes? And I was like, listen here, son, let me Google carbon ceramic brake squeaking. I think if you Google that exact terminology, it will show like Porsches, Lambos, and the Corvette Z06, and how they come with carbon ceramic brakes, and how they're supposed to squeak from factory. That's what they're supposed to do. And I showed him that real quick. This whole exchange only lasted 30 seconds. And he did say something cool in response, where he was like, oh, that's kind of funny. He's like, so you're telling me rich people paid 12 grand for a set of brakes to experience something that poor people do every day? And I was like, yo, that would make a great video idea. So to that random guy at Chick-fil-A that I met probably a year ago, you're the reason this video is finally happening. Another thing that rich and broke car owners can relate with is having tires with no tread. But I do understand it's hard to always have tread on your tires if you have financial issues. However, the second person that is broke not because they're from a poor family, but because they just started working. So teenagers, for example, they tend to have bald tires because, well, you know better than I that they're just hooning around a roundabout and just drifting. So that's why teenagers will also fall into this category for having bald tires. Having said that, rich car enthusiasts will purposely buy tires that have low tread or even no tread for the sake of maximum contact patch and getting all that grip. And you're probably like, wow, that just sounds like a scam. Once again, they're essentially paying a lot of money for a fully worn out tire. And you know what, I don't blame you for thinking that. Now, part of the reasoning those tires are expensive is mostly due to compound. So the tire compound on like a summer high performance tire you would get for like a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, or like high-end Corvettes or high-end Nissan GTR Nismos, those tires, the compound used to make them is really, really expensive. It's really, really sticky, so it's not just the tread pattern you're looking at. But yeah, it is funny thinking that at the end of the day, when rain hits, both y'all gonna be sliding. Another thing that rich and broke car owners can relate to is having stripped interiors. So broke car guys will have stripped interiors due to constant mold buildup, so eventually they'll just start tearing it out because it's just going to make their car smell bad, or because leather is cracking and other interior components like wires are just dangling, so they're just stripping things out. And now, can you believe that there is an actual group of car enthusiasts that actually pay money for companies at from factory to strip their interior, and they pay more for it? A good example of this, Lotus Evoras, they come with back seats. You have to pay them to get rid of the back seats. Shelby Mustangs, they come with back seats. You have to pay them extra to remove it, and so on and so forth. And this is something that, God, this will never make sense. You're basically paying more for less, or more for something you could do on your own. You should just buy the regular Shelby Mustang GT350 and just take the back seats out yourself. Yeah, I know that's labor, but like, you have to be so absolutely rich out of your mind. We're like, yeah, functioning AC? Nah, don't need that. Oh, it costs extra to move it? Yeah, let's do it. Don't need it. Oh, no back seats? Oh, it costs extra to move it? Nah, yeah, sure. Like, you must really be super, super rich to be able to just sign papers away for less features without thinking about that. It's so weird. Like, I don't know about you, when I'm buying something, being told I'm getting less of something and then being told I have to pay more for it, that does not sit well with me. Like, you must have zero value for money because you're so absolutely loaded that you don't care anymore, or you could just be terrible at understanding money. So it could be two sides of that coin. So yeah, a lot of high-end cars, they don't have AC anymore. They don't even have technology features. Like, for example, Lamborghini Aventador SV. The regular Aventador has Bluetooth, it has aux, it has nice leather carpeting, floor mats, Alcantara roof. Meanwhile, the SV model has skateboard grip tape instead of leather, which is like a $20 feature compared to the thousands of dollars of expensive Lamborghini hand-stitched leather. And then on top of that, it doesn't even have Bluetooth or aux, it has a CD player. That's not me making fun of CD players. When I first mentioned this, all the hipsters came out with pitchforks. Calm down. The point I'm making is that you're paying 100 grand. If not, I think it's actually like 150, even 200 grand more. You're basically paying several hundred thousands more for a model, like a vehicle, that has way less features. And it has not always been this case. If you look at older Lamborghinis, the old Diablo SV was the cheapest of all Diablos. It was actually cheaper than the regular Diablo, making the SV technically the base model. But the reason was because back in the 90s, Lamborghini was like, look, the SV model, that's basically a stripped interior and it has a lot of weight reduction features and it doesn't have as much technology or as much air conditioning and whatnot, so they should pay less for it. And that makes sense. You're getting less, you're paying less. But nowadays, they're just like, yo, we can monetize it. We can just tell them it's rare, therefore we can charge them more. So whether it's a Porsche, a Lamborghini, Ferrari, or even, like I said, Shelby Mustangs, it's really funny seeing that, like, cars that have stripped interiors, or to request them to strip an interior, you'll get an upcharge compared to the regular model of that car. The same logic of paying more for less has also drip-fed itself into the rest of modern culture. For example, video games now suffer from this. You're now paying more for less content, and the rest of the content is now locked behind DLC paywalls. And that's just the sad reality of, I guess, us moving forward into the future, is just the aggressive monetization of everything. Now, before I get too sad about that, we should probably move on to the next topic. So, getting locked out. That's another thing that rich and broke car owners can relate to. So, broke car owners, understandably, they get locked out of their car. Sometimes it's due to forgetfulness because they left their keys in the trunk. A more common reason is because their car is just old. If you have a car that's like 20 years old, has 300,000 miles, admittedly, its locks aren't going to function the way they did when it was new. And that's just how life is. So you're just constantly on that phone, dialing up AAA. Now, for super expensive cars like Ferraris, especially the 355s, 360s, and 430s, it was very common for them to have really faulty locks. And I believe McLarens and other like Jaguars, basically any British car, like early Astons, also had this problem. Rob Reddy has a video where he goes about his first 20,000 miles about his Ferrari 360. And this is an old video, so obviously now the 360 isn't a new car, but he was one of the first YouTubers way back in the day when the 360 was still kind of a newish Ferrari, like only 2 to 3 years used. And he talks about how in like 20,000 miles, the car went through 4 locks, like 4 door locks. And that's like, this is a new multiple hundred thousand Ferrari at the time, and it was going through locks like candy. Luckily, he had a convertible, so I think he just climbed in. So he could never actually get locked out of his car because he could just climb in through it. But like, I can't imagine having a hardtop Ferrari 360 back in 2004 and being locked out of your several $100,000 Ferrari because its locks are just that poorly made. So next time you're in an empty Walmart parking lot trying to get back inside your Honda Beater, just know that as you call AAA, somewhere out there in the world, whether it's LA, the rich places of Tokyo, or the richest places of London, there is also a Ferrari owner who's doing the exact same thing. And finally, the last thing they can share in common is constantly breaking down. And I'm not just talking about their cars, I'm talking about their emotional state too. Because owning an exotic car or owning a beater car will drive you insane. So everyone knows that 20-year-old beaters or 25-year-old beaters that haven't been taken well care of aren't reliable. Therefore, they're going to break down a lot and cause their owners to break down as well. Now, exotic cars on the other hand, brand new, out of the box, you think they're reliable? Haha, no they aren't. So a big thing that I still have to explain to non-car people, to a lot of my non-car friends, and even to some of the corners of the internet, a lot of the corners of the internet actually, a lot of people don't know this still. guys, just because they're expensive doesn't mean they're good. A very common misconception that I see in comment sections is everyone like, I don't get why everyone says a Corvette's more reliable than a Ferrari. A Corvette's made of cheap plastic and a Ferrari is made of the highest quality materials, so it has to be far more reliable. It'll get way better mileage than any Toyota or Corvette or Honda with cheap plastic. And I'm just like, that's not how this works. A good analogy I can think of is think of a chef in a kitchen. You can give a master chef mediocre ingredients. He will make something pretty banging still. Like, he'll make something really nice. And you can give the best ingredients in the world to a novice chef, and he's gonna screw it up. It's gonna taste terrible. So the quality of the ingredients, and in this case for cars, the quality of the components does not determine the end result. Now, that's not me trying to say Ferrari is the equivalent of a novice chef or a bad chef. They hand assemble most of their cars, as do a lot of other exotic car manufacturers. And hand assembly, it does make beautiful pieces of art, and that's what Ferrari is going for. That's why they're so expensive, because hand assembly, as you can imagine, has a higher labor cost than a robot or a mass production facility. But whether we want to admit it or not, times have changed drastically. Like, robots were once clunky fools in the 70s and 80s and 90s that people just made fun of in cartoons, but modern day robots are laser precise. We're talking about the most talented of talented engineers. They completely remove 99.9% of the human error. And the thing with a car, if you have 40 humans hand assemble it, if even 2 of those 40 are just having a bad day and do their part of the assembly line like 1 or 2 millimeters off, that won't show any problems in 1 or 5,000 miles, but after 10,000 miles, that's when small differences of 1 or 2 millimeters can literally break down the car, because cars, like I said, they're kind of like dragons in some sense. They literally are breathing fire all the time inside their engine. Will ultimately break down the car far faster than a robot that is laser precision, getting everything down to the exact, not even millimeter, probably even like freaking nanometer. Like, it's insane just how little mistakes modern day robots do. That's why freaking as soulless as Camrys and Honda Accords are, like, the way that they're manufactured makes them ridiculously reliable. Even something like a Corvette or something like a Nissan GTR, that's why they're more reliable, or Porsche 911, especially Porsches as well. There's a reason why those 3 cars, that you can beat them up on the racetrack and you can actually drive them home the same day from the racetrack, because they're just assembled really, really well, even if they don't have the quote-unquote super high quality components that their competitors like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini will. Now, at the end of the day, I still think owning a Ferrari has a lot of merit to it. It's still a very beautiful work of art. That should be the main appeal of owning it. A lot of non-car people don't understand that's the appeal. They think that it's actually a quality car you can drive every day. I'm like, no, let me stop you right there. You're gonna constantly break down. It's a weekend warrior. You should buy a Ferrari as a weekend warrior. You need to own another car before you buy exotic cars like Jaguars, Aston Martins, or Ferraris, because that other car is the one you drive while your Ferrari is inevitably gonna be repaired, because yes, it's gonna be repaired, okay? Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe or else I will delete your Genshin Impact account. See y'all next time. Blade Angel out.